Don't worry too much about it. My mom's just really straightforward. You'll get used to it. Even when his mother's harsh words hurt me, Alec just brushes it off. I love him, but it does make me question if marrying him is the right decision. My name is Emmy. I'm 31 and work in an office job. Alec and I have been dating for 6 months, and we've recently decided to get married. It feels a bit hasty to commit after just half a year, especially since we still live with our parents and only see each other once a week. Alec has visited my place a few times, but I've never been to his. We're both in our 30s, me at 31 and Alec at 36, so it's natural for us to start talking about marriage. Alec is an only child and suggested that we get our own place rather than moving in with his parents. He mentioned he's already saved up for a down payment. He loves kids and promised to help with housework and childcare. I have no complaints about Alec. I love him deeply. I was over the moon about our future together, never expecting what would unfold at our wedding preparations. Meeting Alec's parents for the first time was part of our pre-wedding visit. I hoped they would be warm and welcoming, and at first, everything seemed fine. But as we settled on the living room sofa, his mother suddenly blurted out, "You're ugly." I was stunned. "You have buck teeth. It's not attractive." I couldn't see it properly before, but it's quite noticeable. "Didn't you have braces as a kid, or was your family too poor?" Her rapid-fire insults left me speechless. "I don't think it's that bad," I managed to reply, trying to mask my hurt. I had never felt self-conscious about my teeth before. "No, you look like a monkey. Why would Alec choose someone so unattractive? His father has better taste. Maybe Alec finds you exotic because he's used to beautiful women like me." Alec's mother continued to belittle me. Despite her heavy makeup, which made her look more tacky than attractive, she didn't hold back her insults. "There aren't many beauties like me," she said. "I take after Dad, so Emmy is a good match for me," Alec remarked, failing to stand up for me. Alec's father added, "Emmy, you might want to learn some makeup tips from my wife. It might help you look a bit better." His words were polite on the surface but still felt rude. I discovered that Alec's mother had won a local beauty pageant, a small-town contest, but it seemed her sense of superiority came from that minor achievement. Why did this family have such a high opinion of themselves over something so trivial? And why wasn't Alec defending me? I was at a loss for words in the face of such rudeness. Alec's mother then smugly said, feeling hurt, "This is why I don't get along with women. They're so sensitive." I'm just honest. If someone said the same to me, I wouldn't care. I wanted to say, "You're a woman too," but I kept silent. Alec seemed completely unfazed. His father added, "My wife has always been this way, straightforward and honest. We rarely have conflicts. Emmy, you're lucky to have such an honest mother-in-law." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had no idea Alec's parents would be this intense. The visit ended in a blur. After the uncomfortable visit, Alec offered to drive me to the station. As we drove, I decided to bring up what had been bothering me. "Do you think I have buck teeth?" I asked. "I don't mind them," he replied. "Good. But why did your mom call me a monkey?" "She's just being honest," Alec said, shrugging. His response didn't satisfy me, so I asked another question that had been troubling me. "What did you mean by settling for me?" "It means we're a good match," he answered. I was taken aback. Was he suggesting I'm not as beautiful as his mother? Not only was he failing to defend me, but he was also being downright rude. I wanted him to at least offer a comforting lie, but I was starting to doubt whether this marriage was a good idea. I had my reasons for wanting to move out and get married. My brother Justin was already married and living at home. We have a large house in the suburbs with plenty of room, and I had planned to move out when Justin married. But since he and his wife Beatrice get along so well with me, I had stayed put. Still, I knew it was time to move on. When I got home, Justin had just returned from work. I asked him the same question. "Do you think I have buck teeth?" "What?" "No, I've never noticed." "Did someone say something? You were visiting Alec's family today, right?" "No, just curious," I replied, impressed by his intuition. A warning bell was ringing in my mind, telling me to reconsider the marriage. But I had come this far. I told myself we'd be fine as long as his parents stayed out of our lives. The wedding day arrived, and with it, a wave of criticism from my mother-in-law. Despite my efforts to ignore her, her constant negativity was hard to overlook. I was focused on managing the many tasks at hand, and with the limited time we spent together, I hoped that once the wedding was over, things would settle down and we'd be happy. However, an incident marred what should have been a joyful occasion. During my boss's speech, which praised me warmly, I felt a mix of pride and embarrassment. As I glanced at my family's reactions, I noticed my mother-in-law. Instead of sharing in the moment, she wore a look of open hostility, which seemed to be fueled by too much wine. The table was cluttered with empty wine bottles. Then my mother-in-law stood up, walked over to the MC, and grabbed the microphone. The host looked confused, and I was at a loss for words. Emmy is basking in the spotlight at work, she interrupted loudly, cutting off my boss. I know who this boss is, but you're praising Emmy too much. She can't be that great. She's over 30 and still living at home, so she must be useless at housework. She's a defective woman. Even with makeup, she's still ugly. A stunned silence fell over the room. My boss stood frozen, still holding the microphone. "What are you doing? Stop this," I shouted, my voice reverberating through the room. My mother-in-law appeared dangerously drunk, and the situation quickly spiraled out of control. "I'm just telling everyone the truth. I'm exposing you for who you really are," my mother-in-law declared defiantly. "This isn't the time or place for that," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It doesn't matter. Women should speak their minds. If something's wrong, it's wrong. Your boss didn't praise you that much anyway. Gender doesn't matter here," I responded. "We're talking about interrupting a speech." As I argued with her, a realization hit me. Earlier, Alec's boss had mostly spoken about the company and barely mentioned Alec. That must have upset her, and the alcohol had only intensified her emotions. A daughter-in-law should obey her mother-in-law. Look how cheeky she is. She's not as wonderful as everyone thinks. But since the wedding has already happened, I suppose I'll have to discipline her. Please be kind to my buck-toothed, ugly daughter-in-law. With that, she plopped back into her seat and resumed drinking as if nothing had occurred. My father-in-law pretended not to notice, and Alec, sitting next to me, remained silent, even starting to eat the untouched food. The guests were bewildered, and the MC looked to me for guidance. The wedding was still in its early stages, and while I was seething over my mother-in-law's outburst, I didn't want to ruin the ceremony. I hesitated but eventually nodded to the MC. Just as the MC was about to continue, Justin stood up. "Is that all you have to say?" Beatrice tried to pull him back, but he pushed her hand away. She looked at me, mouthing "sorry, can't help it," before stepping aside. My parents seemed ready to confront my mother-in-law themselves. The ceremony had clearly gone off the rails. "What did you say?" my mother-in-law demanded. Justin repeated his words, his voice low and threatening. "Is that all you have to say?" Justin, towering at nearly 7 feet with a strong build from his rugby days, was visibly enraged and intimidating. "You insult my sister in front of our family and relatives. You'd better be ready for the consequences." Alec, sitting beside me, jumped up from his seat. He stopped eating his steak and whispered urgently, "Hey, Emmy, can you stop your brother-in-law? He's going to ruin our wedding." "What? Your mom already ruined it. She's just speaking her mind. There's no issue. Your brother is threatening her." Seriously, the only problem here is her. If she hadn't insulted me, my brother wouldn't be so angry. Why should I stop him when you didn't stop her? Frustrated with Alec's response, I decided not to engage further. "Let it be," I said, shaking my head at the MC, who was still looking to me for direction. "No, I'm just being honest. I say what I think." My mother-in-law defended herself, clearly intimidated by Justin's presence. "You think that's an excuse?" Justin challenged. "Can't an adult tell when it's appropriate to speak and when it's not?" "It was just a joke meant to lighten the mood," my mother-in-law replied dismissively. "Don't take it so seriously. There's no need to get angry." "It absolutely is a big deal," Justin said firmly. "This is a wedding. It's not just about our family. There are many people here who care about Emmy. And you, who are supposed to be her mother-in-law, just insulted her in front of everyone. You basically announced that you intend to make her life miserable." Scattered applause broke out in response to Justin's words. "I'm sorry, brother-in-law," Alex said, standing up in a futile attempt to defend his mother. "My mom didn't mean any harm." "Alec, you're apologizing to the wrong person," Justin shot back. "And there are no excuses. If she meant no harm, why would she say something so hurtful?" "Well, my mom is just being honest," Alex said weakly. That's a self-proclaimed honesty, Justin retorted. Being honest doesn't give you a free pass to slander someone. Alec was left speechless, cut off by Justin's firm stance. Emmy, can you please stop your brother? He's ruining our wedding, my mother-in-law pleaded, her voice tinged with desperation. Yeah, Emmy, get your brother to stop. Don't make things harder for my wife and son, my father-in-law chimed in, backing up his wife's comments. It was clear they didn't realize the gravity of their actions. What kind of people are you? My father finally erupted. After ruining my daughter's wedding, you're blaming my son. This is a disgrace. You really want to push this to court. We're done with family ties, but we'll see each other in legal battles. Wait, suing. I just wanted a family where we could speak our minds, Alec protested. Emmy, we could still work things out, couldn't we? My mother-in-law attempted to soften her tone after hearing my father's words. Her sudden shift in attitude only fueled my anger further. So do you think it's family-like to publicly humiliate your son's wife and ruin a once-in-a-lifetime event like a wedding? Well, my mother-in-law was at a loss for words, clearly intimidated by Justin and my father. The in-laws lowered their heads in silence. Let's call it a day, Emmy. You're making me really angry, Alex said, completely missing the seriousness of the situation and speaking to me with a defiant edge. I snorted in disdain. Alec was visibly terrified of Justin but had the nerve to belittle me. What a loser, I thought. What are you talking about? Alex said defensively. This is ridiculous. I didn't start this. Your mom did. And now you're blaming me. I glared at Alec and he looked away, clearly weak and submissive. What did I ever see in this guy? I wondered. I can't remember anymore. I can't marry you. This wedding is off, I shouted. Come on, we're in the middle of our wedding. Let's just forget about it, Alec pleaded. Those aren't words an offender should say to the victim, I snapped back. Ever since I met your mother, I've been considering calling off this marriage. I've been too slow to act. So you don't love me anymore? Alec asked, his voice tinged with hurt. I did love you, I said, my voice steady. That's why I agreed to marry you. I even tried to tolerate your mother. But I've realized that if you won't stand up for me at our wedding, you'll never stand up for me. As I made this declaration, a single round of applause rang out in the otherwise silent wedding hall. It was Justin, clapping in support. Soon, Beatrix, my father, and my mother joined in, and the applause grew louder. Even some of the guests from Alec's side began to clap, likely agreeing that Alec and his parents had crossed the line. The wedding was officially called off, and discussions of divorce began immediately. I hired a lawyer and sought compensation from Alec for the annulment and a settlement from his mother for defamation. A friend had recorded the entire debacle, providing me with solid evidence, and I had numerous witnesses among the guests. There was no way I could lose. I received a substantial settlement from Alec's family and compensation for the wedding expenses. I returned the gifts to my guests, who offered their support and kind words. I severed all ties with Alec and his family, but they were in for a difficult time. Alec's colleagues and bosses had witnessed the fiasco, so his work environment was likely tense and rumors about his parents began to spread through their neighborhood. I started living alone, feeling a tremendous sense of relief. If Justin hadn't stood up for me, I might have ended up going through with the wedding and marrying Alec. I wouldn't be experiencing this newfound peace. I'm grateful to Justin for exposing the truth and ending the wedding.